All right, folks, welcome back to Guitar Radio Show. Our next guest is a live performer, a session player, a producer, a writer, an orchestrator, a teacher, and an overall purveyor of the funk. Please welcome to the show, Ella Feingold. How are you?
Hello, thank you for having me.
Um, I got turned on to you. We were just saying off mic. I got turned on to you through Instagram,
Mm.
and you, whether you realize it or not, what you became quickly to me is a close and personal friend.
Oh,
through
I
your
love to hear that.
through your Insta, I was like, okay, what's Ella got to say today?
Oh,
What are we gonna what am I gonna hear? What am I gonna end up ultimately going? Uh-huh, that's right. Uh-huh. That's what I get from your Insta.
I love hearing that because, like, Mr. Rogers was my hero. And just like the familiarity of him coming in and, like, with the
Yeah,
cardigan and changing his shoes
right,
was always comforting. So I love that people kind of feel like they're a part of my world.
right.
And
How great would that be if you did that?
oh, I mean,
Do the whole sweater.
if I ever had like a budget and you know what I mean, and a company was like, okay, what do you want? I'm like, we're doing a I'm walking through a door, I'm changing, putting on some Vans or whatever he bought, putting on the cardigan, like
That would be
totally,
so freaking cool. Oh my
totally.
God.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so what ends up happening, and I reply to you a lot, you reply back, which I always love. And you're such a deep thinker, and that's something that I really appreciate because it helps me further my thought process. Because I mean, I don't know about you, but I've come to a point in my life now where I finally have been able to take the sounds that I hear in my head and get it out,
Mm.
through my instrument, whereas opposed to it used to always be whatever came out, something came out, but it wasn't always what I was hearing in my head.
You play what you hear rather
Yeah,
than
now
what you
I'm playing
play.
what I hear.
Yeah.
And when you talk and when you walk us through something, whatever it might be, it's always like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And it only helps to nurture that in me as
Mm.
far as that. So I'm greatly appreciative of that.
That's wonderful.
And
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
no, I mean, there's so few people. I mean, Instagram is one of those. It's an interesting place. It's so often it's somebody just going, ba, 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 da, 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 hey, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? As opposed to sharing something that's meaningful.
Yeah, I mean, I love hearing that. For me, it was really simple. I had some not so great teachers coming up. And for me, it's really just I am sharing things and engaging people in a way that I needed to be engaged with when I was
Mm,
younger. And I realized that, everybody wants to be reached a different way, whether that's through learning disabilities, however,
yeah.
but what I do is just my way of how I want to be really reached, which is just somebody outgoing, someone that's to the point, someone that's hands on, lived
Hmm.
experience rather than regurgitating information that was learned
Hmm.
but not assimilated.
Hmm.
So, yeah, it's just kind of like, yeah, how would I want somebody to teach me something that I don't know about? Or,
Right. Right. Sure. And as I mean, I always say this, and I'm partially joking, but I also really mean it. Is I've been playing since 1975, and you'd think I'd be better by now, but I have come to terms with who I am
Mm-hmm.
as a musician
Mm-hmm.
and what I bring to the table.
Sure.
So, being, once upon a time I had long hair, and full head of hair, like, the whole, and I was in an 80s hair band and, all that stuff. And I was never a shredder. I was just talking to Joe Gore yesterday. You know who Joe
Oh,
is? Yeah.
I know him not personally, but I
I
know
got,
him.
and I was telling him that, um, I said, I've never learned how to play Stairway to Heaven, nor did I ever want to.
Yeah. I've definitely glossed over a lot of the, classic guitar
Yeah, yeah.
catalog and influences, and I think that might make me what I am from a lot of the things I just haven't listened to
Well, yeah.
or
I mean, it's
wanted to
not a
listen
matter,
to.
right?
Not saying that, but
Or didn't want to play.
I think that's an important distinction the older you get, that like you don't have to play everything that you enjoy listening to. No.
Exactly.
When I was a younger musician, I think I felt a guilt of like enjoying something but not knowing how to play it. And so I felt like I don't think anything is wasted time in your musical development, because you're just like life, like nothing's wasted. You're just figuring out what makes you happy and how you want to live. But
Mhm.
there were definitely moments where I was like, all right, I guess I need to do this or do that because I enjoy listening to this music. And the older I get, I can just appreciate like they got that. They live that music. That is their entire being, is that music. I'm just going to enjoy it. I don't have to know how to do it.
Exactly. Yeah, and
So,
it can inspire me in different ways.
mhm.
It can because music to me is food.
Yeah,
It's air, it's water, it's all of those elements
yeah,
that make me who I am and keep
sure,
me alive.
sure.
Um,
Yeah, very much that.
so like I've gotten to a point now where if I don't write something at least once a week, I'm crawling out of my skin.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Um, but when I listen to music, it's like, oh, okay, oh, yeah, this was a ring ding, or this was a Hostess cupcake, or
Mhm. Sure.
or this was brisket,
Yeah.
whatever,
Oh, now I'm hungry.
whatever. But but yeah, I don't feel that I can hear it, I can listen to it, I can appreciate it, I can hold it close to my heart, but I don't necessarily have to know how to play
Yeah. Yep.
it.
Amen.
Yeah. Um, you are one of those guitar players. When I watch you play, you am I right in assuming that you have a very light touch?
Yes, I'd say so. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I try and not that we need to get into a guitar lesson, but I try and I would say that the activity of my hand, it's very active, but I try and sort of brush over the strings more or glaze over them, or to me brush makes more sense. Like I'm very active in what I'm playing, but I'm not trying to like gouge into the strings. So
Right.
there's a lot of small motions. Um, but it's more like just brushing over it as opposed to like really hardly sweeping through it.
Right.
It's an odd thing to say, but it's kind of like I'm being active but trying to make the least amount of contact with the strings. But you obviously have to make contact.
Right. Of course. Yeah.
If that does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
know, it's like in some of the conversations I've had with with Billy Gibbons,
Sure.
he talked about um, a conversation he had in the '70s with BB King,
Hmm.
and they said, well, what gauge strings are you using? And and BB was using eights, and
Really?
yeah, he was using eights,
Wow.
and Billy said, oh, I'm using 11s and 12s at the time, and BB goes, why are you working so hard?
Yeah. I mean, I had a conversation with do you remember Wawa Watson, the
Hmm.
guitar player?
Yeah.
Him and I were talking. He has a very unorthodox gauge, and his high E is an 8. His
Hmm.
B string is a 9, and his G string is an 11, and then it gets heavier going down. He really like splits the guitar into two different, sort of quadrants.
Hybrid.
But, on his L5, he has jumbo frets that he grinds down, insanely low action, insanely light, kind of paper pick. And he just talked
Hmm.
about like, yeah, I want to do the least amount of effort, have the guitar do most of the work,
Yeah.
and
And the amp.
the amp. And for me, it's just all dependent on, I guess, what I'm using an instrument for. Like the Nile Rodgers Strat that I have, I've had eights and nines on it. And to me,
Right.
that's where that guitar comes alive because I'm using it for a very active, scratchy kind of thing. When I'm
Hmm.
doing more of the old school James Brown funk, I'm using like the polar opposite. I'm using 13 to 56 flat
Wow.
lines,
Okay.
you know. But I'm also not leaning into it the same way that I am with a Nile Strat, and it's more smaller single note things, and
Yeah.
rather than playing 5 note voicings, more 3 note voicings,
Yeah.
things like that. So
Yeah.
I sort of go dependent on sort of what the guitar wants, how I'm using it. But I agree with the sentiment of, why work harder? I mean, I know some people, my version of why work harder is more like string action. Like,
Yeah.
some I have insanely low that if somebody picked it up, they're the like there's a video I made somewhere in my feed and I think I called it like scratchy funk. I lowered the action so low that the strings are just like on the wood, just on the fret wire where nobody would play, and it just sounded so funky and scratchy, and everyone's like, oh, what strings, and it's just like, if you had the guitar set up like this, you wouldn't play it.
Right.
And then I have my inverted tuning guitar that I use with Charlie, and that is like so unbelievably high
Hmm.
that, you wouldn't, it's hard to push into it. But for
Right.
that, I'm trying to have the instrument be a lot more like a drum, and the pitches are sort of secondary. Not that I don't want pitches, but that I want more resistance to push into the sound so that there's more of a gradation in how much sound seeps through when I'm playing rhythm. If
Right.
I have crazy low action, it's sort of just like on and off. There's no in between. Like you practically breathe on the string and the note sounds.
Hmm.
But when the action's a lot higher, there's a lot more between it being a dead stroke and a little bit of sound and full on sound. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And it almost creates almost when there's a like I just built this guitar the other day at a parts thing,
mhm.
and it's I do that every New Year's Day. I build a parts guitar
Oh,
just
cool.
for fun.
That's a
And
good tradition.
so this thing turned out to be the neck's got a bit of a bow in it, which I have to get to, but um, it's the action's really low, around the top of the neck, so for cowboy chords and all. And but as you get further up, it gets higher.
Yeah.
It creates this interesting latency.
Hmm.
That's kind of fascinating. But when you mentioned the Nile Rodgers thing, it's that you said those single note double, a lot of double picking and I like to call it ticky tack ticky tack tack
Sure. Yeah.
ticky ticky tack. That stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, you don't want the action to be too high on that, right?
I like high. I mean, I think they both sound good. I think they're just different sounds. I tend to think very low action is more of like a Sly Stone, Freddie Stone,
Hmm.
light touch, playing with your
Hmm.
thumb, that kind of thing. When
Right.
I think of high action and more resistance, I think more Jimmy Nolan with James Brown, Catfish Collins, where you can tell they're kind of fighting the instrument a little bit,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And I think that which is great, is that they're both funky sounds and they're
Yeah, they are.
polar opposite. Eights and
Yeah.
nines with insanely low action,
Yeah.
13s with insanely high action.
Yeah.
I was
Totally.
talking to Jesse Johnson, and he was telling me he uses eights and jumbo frets. And not only is he using eights, but he's tuning down to C sharp and D. So, I mean, those
Wow.
eights have to feel like sixes,
Yeah.
sevens. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I had a surgery a couple of years ago. I'm lefty, as you can
Mm,
see,
yeah.
and and um, during my rehab, I moved down to sevens,
Interesting.
and I fell in love with it
Yeah.
because it changed my whole mindset. There was some definitely a lot of adjusting to do
Hmm.
as far as both my attack and to the guitar itself, but it definitely changed my head as far
Yeah.
as from a creative standpoint. But when I was originally in this whole thing, when I said that you come across so effortless,
Thank you. I get
which
that a
I
lot.
love that.
Yeah.
Um, I know that you took lessons with Spanky,
Hmm.
and whenever I saw Spanky play, it was wildly effortless.
Hmm.
Like, is he even touching the fretboard?
Hmm.
And when you watched his hands, it was like, wait a minute, there's way more sound coming out than what I think his hands are doing.
Hmm.
Do you think that that was part of your maturation?
Subconsciously, yeah, probably
Yeah.
so. Oddly enough, Spanky and I never talked rhythm. I mean, it was part of the language, certainly. With Spanky, I mean, the focus was really chord voicings, kind of combining chords, learning about him as a person, his humanity. We never really got into rhythm, but I certainly got into the hybrid playing of using a pick because he uses a pick and fingers.
Right.
And his whole thing is more just like constantly bouncing in between the pick and say the middle finger, just
Yeah.
almost like two picks, or when he chords, using the pick and kind of just constantly brushing up.
Hmm.
And yeah, he does have a very, very light touch and incredibly low action. I remember playing his L5 and his 335.
Hmm.
And the action is like, if you play the guitar unplugged, it's like you don't get a lot of sound out of it because the strings are so low. There's
Hmm.
not a lot of vibration. But once
Yeah.
he's going in, so I think definitely some of that, came from him. A lot of it came from Wah Watson, seeing him make very small motions when he's playing and not these, really big motions. My friend Jeffrey Lockhart, who's probably my favorite rhythm guitar player ever. He's a professor at Berklee College of Music now, but he's just a Boston legend. And he just coming up when I was a kid and hearing him play at this club called Wally's. He plays upside down like you do.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I can't tell how you're strung, but he's
I'm strung left-handed, not like Albert King.
okay. So he
Yeah.
does the take the righty guitar, flip it upside down, so
Right.
his high E is up here.
Right.
And
Like Doyle Bramhall.
yep, yep.
Yeah.
And he's got an incredible touch. So I guess a lot of my influences sort of unintentionally had very just great touches and minimal effort. I can't play like George Benson, but even watching George play,
Yeah.
that kind of hand position,
Yeah.
a similar a similar thing. Playing with Charlie and his whole ergonomic thing with his, how his thumb comes down and his fingers. And I guess now that you mention it, like a lot of my favorite players, I mean, had incredible touch, but also had such a ease and comfortability with the instrument. Some
Yeah.
guitar players I know make bigger motions, and it doesn't mean it's not funky. I mean, honestly, Niall has bigger motions when a lot of his is kind of this sort of, you kind of see him doing this
Yeah.
kind of thing. It's
Yeah.
almost like that kind of
Almost
thing
like a
where you,
hacking.
yeah, like where you're like going into it, or
Yeah.
that kind of thing. I'm a
Yeah.
lot more.
Yeah.
So, but that's what makes us all kind of have our thing. And I
Oh
study
yeah,
all
for
those
sure.
things and I pay attention. It's kind of like, yeah, does that energy that they're the way they're touching the instrument, does that bring something out of the guitar, or is that simply just what is comfortable, for them? And some
Hmm.
things are just kind of like with George Benson, watching his hand like that, and it's like, well, that's just where his hand comfortably rests, probably because of the size of his hand and his forearm.
Hmm.
It's like that's just what's comfortable. But for me, that's so awkward, so
Yeah,
for me, it's more
absolutely. Yeah.
more that kind of thing.
Can you recall the moment and who you heard that made you want to pick up this instrument?
I can. Oddly enough, it was Lou Diamond Phillips in La Bamba. Yeah. And seeing the green stratotone.
So really, it was David Hidalgo and
Sure. I mean,
Cesar
fair.
Rojas.
Fair. Totally fair. Yeah, I mean, being a grunge kid and coming up in the early 90s,
Hmm.
I mean, certainly all the stuff that's on the radio. I mean, I had posters before that of like, you know, uh, Skid Row and Guns N' Roses and more like metal stuff.
Right,
But then, grunge came into being, which
right.
I'm very thankful for. So I mean, I certainly think that whole movement of just people playing instruments made me want to get an instrument. Definitely seeing, La Bamba, and then of course just knowing like Jimi Hendrix exists, and there was just a lot happening when I was a kid that made me want to pick up a guitar. Even as simple as some of my friends just had instruments before I did, and I just was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, I have
Yeah,
to play an instrument. I have to. I dreamed about it. So,
yeah. That's cool. That's
yeah.
cool. That's really interesting. Yeah, I love that movie. I still watch that movie a lot.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and there's somebody who doesn't get a lot of love is Richie Valens.
Yeah.
I mean, such good stuff,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? Like oh, what was it? Ooh, My Head.
Hmm.
Oh, what a great track.
I mean, the whole soundtrack to that was great. I remember
Yeah,
hearing like Brian Setzer. Not that even those people are influences on my playing. I mean, I guess spiritually, in that it made me want to play. But
right,
but I don't play like that.
right. Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
but yeah, that definitely awoken something in me for sure.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. So how did you get to funk and R&B?
Um, yeah,
I know how I did, but how
it's a
did you
good
do it?
question. I mean, essentially through my dad. My dad raised me
Yeah,
on Black American music, so it was
yeah,
always the OJs and Motown and
yeah.
the Spinners. And if it wasn't Black American music, it was white people influenced by Black music, like Lisa Stansfield singing, you know, Barry White stuff and whatever.
Right.
So that was
What a voice. What?
always totally. That was always playing in the car, playing in the house. And then my dad just knew all of the facts of just like, oh yeah, well that's Levi Stubbs, and then this guy left the group, and then when they left, they were different, and so I was also absorbing a lot of that, and my dad would always like, tap his leg while he was driving and sing along, and it just so that stuff sort of just became ingrained in me. I mean, I remember, my first love of music was hearing Michael Jackson and me dancing on the tables in preschool. So it was always Black American music,
Yeah,
rhythm,
yeah,
music lived from, music from a lived experience. And some of that experience, sadly, is oppression and the way white people treat Black people.
hmm,
And I just connected with that. It just hit me as being incredibly real, soulful, uh, emotional music. Um, that then sort of got put on the back burner for a long time when grunge really emerged. And, me being 11 or 12, it's like, I don't want to listen to the OJ's, dad. Like, put on Nirvana or Pearl Jam or something. So, then I had my rebellious phase. But by the time I got to college, it all just came back.
yeah,
And I always enjoyed it. It's not like, oh, I'm not listening to this, but I really understood when I got to college and was around a lot of other musicians playing all kinds of music, like how important that music was to me. And then that, led to meeting Spanky, studying with him, playing at this club called Wally's Jazz Cafe, playing in an all black Pentecostal church for 5 years. Honestly, quite literally being the only white chick on the bandstand pretty much
Hmm.
ever.
Hmm.
And it's like that is so normal for me, That's more normal. I mean, I almost never play with white musicians. Not a segregated thing. It's never, like I'm on
It's a,
stage with Erica Badu. I'm the only white chick.
yeah, it's gravitational pull.
Yeah, so it's just weird sometimes being around white people and they're just talking about gear all the time, which I love, but I'm like, oh wow, I'm not used to some of these conversations and. Um,
Well,
so
we will talk about gear at some point.
yeah, happy to. Love gear. Love
All
gear.
right.
So
So,
yeah, that was upbringing and then lived experience.
yeah. So here is my question to you, and I've been waiting to ask you this question
Sure.
a while, and I was gonna message you the question, but I was like, no, no, I wanna hear it out of her mouth. Um, did James Brown create funk? Something from nothing. Out of nothing came something.
Short answer is yes, for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
I
I'm
mean,
so glad to hear you say that.
yeah, I think the longer answer, I know there's a D'Angelo interview, and I don't want to misquote D, but I think he says something like Otis Redding created funk, or just like that you could hear. I'd have to find the thing. It might even be in the Finding Funk documentary or something. Like,
Great doc.
I guess what I'm trying to say is we can always find things that sort of point to it. I know Christian McBride has had interviews where he essentially says, what James Brown is doing is vamp music. That's the thing that
Hmm.
you do at the end of the song is your
Hmm.
and then James Brown took that and made the whole
Well,
structure.
yeah, I mean, we can go back to Caledonia.
Well, that's what I'm saying is like the short answer is like yes, how we know funk, James Brown created it,
Right.
and I think and slot, I mean, I guess everyone says that the Holy Trinity is, James Brown and Sly and P Funk, Funkadelic,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay. Yeah.
But sure, yes. In a
Okay.
word, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it was funny because yesterday when I was talking to Joe, um, I turned him on to a guitar player from 1949 by the name of Gory Carter. Have you ever heard of Gory
No,
Carter?
I'll check them
He's a
out though.
Texas player.
I'm
I'll
sure
send you.
Charlie Hunter knows exactly who it is and can
Oh, I'm
tell me all
sure.
the yeah.
And he did a version of Rock a While,
Okay.
and but he's playing Chuck Berry licks
Okay.
long before Chuck Berry ever played those licks.
Yeah.
I mean, but that whole thing
Yeah.
is in there, you know.
It's
And we listened to it together, and he was like, "Holy shit balls! I can't believe
I
this is
mean,
1949." You know,
yeah.
but once again, goes back to the jump stuff. You
And
know,
I think with Jimmy Nolan, when you think about like Papa's Got a Brand New Bag or something,
yeah,
and those ninth chords, I know that he got that stuff from T-Bone Walker,
right,
and all the so I mean it's like did funk start with T-Bone Walker? I know that he
yeah,
loved Wayne Bennett with Bobby Blue Bland. I know that he loved I think the guy's name's Pete Lewis.
uh-huh,
Um and so it's like yeah, I guess doo-wop, but as funk as we know it, yeah, definitely
yeah.
Mr. Brooklyn.
I mean, could we go back to what was it, Glenn Miller's orchestra, and they did a thing called Anvil Chorus. You know that one?
I know Glenn Miller, but I don't know that one.
I
Mm-mm.
think it's Glenn Miller. Um, but yeah, could we look at swing?
Yeah, I mean,
You
sure.
know, we
Everything.
could,
Yeah,
but funk as a thing,
for
I think
sure.
it has to be.
I think
Yeah,
Christian McBride nailed it with the vamp music,
yeah,
which is true,
yeah,
you know. And
yeah,
I tend to like any kind of music that puts me in a trance like that. And
yeah,
that can be, you know, James Brown playing Soul Power or Sex Machine for 10 minutes. It
Yeah.
can be Jeff Buckley putting me
Hmm.
in a trance with his vocals and the way he's playing things. It can be one of his influences, Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, like all the
Hmm.
Qawwali singers.
Hmm.
I just like anything that Brian Eno, just anything that feels like
Ah,
a
yes.
spell, an
Yes.
incantation, just I tend to like stuff. I'm going to contradict myself, but stuff that has so much going on at once, I tend to not be as engaged as opposed to something that just sits there and you just go like this.
Yeah, but that's the bed, right? You can
Yeah,
have that bed and then you can have that controlled chaos on top,
sure.
you
Like even
know?
some of the Herbie Funk stuff when Ray Parker Jr. and Wah Wah are just,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Herbie's playing,
Yeah.
he's going everywhere. And.
Totally. Um, well, yeah, that's like, we're making a gumbo with that, you
Yeah,
know. Um, um, you mentioned Brian Eno. Do you know the album My Life in the Bush of Ghosts?
I don't think so.
Oh God. Oh
No.
my God. Okay,
Uh-uh.
so it's Brian Eno and David Byrne, and the whole thing is tape loops.
Okay, I'll have to check.
They are not playing any instruments.
Yeah.
They put together there was like eight 24 track and 2 track machines in the room. They pushed them all into one room and they looped them all together and they did this thing. It is so good. The track Help Me Somebody is really gonna
Cool.
that groove is
Definitely check it out.
ridiculous. It's so good.
Cool.
Yeah, I love that's one of my favorite all-time records by Eno.
Okay.
So moving from James to Sly,
Mm,
that's where it hit me. I mean, I had seen James, back when he was more of like a balladeer doing please, 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 and stuff like
mhm.
that, and seeing him on variety shows and stuff like
Sure.
that, you know. But when Sly came along, you know, I was 7
Mm,
in '69 and I was forever transformed.
yeah.
And at that point, I didn't want to be white anymore. Like, what the hell? What kind of cards was I dealt here?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just wow. Wow. From every aspect, lyrically, vocally, the
Yeah.
fact that it was uh, uh, a multiracial band, a multi gendered band. It was everybody was included, and it was like a big hug to the rest of the world of, oh, this is who we could be,
Hmm.
you know.
Absolutely.
And at a time when there were so many that were saying, no, you can't be that way,
Yeah.
you know.
I have if I can share my Sly story, I'm friendly with his daughter, Novena.
Hmm.
I don't think she would mind me telling this story, but um, it's no secret to anyone that follows me, my profound admiration for Sly. You know, I've played a lot of his music on my channel and stuff like that. And his daughter obviously knows like how massive of a fan I am of her dad. And I always sort of wanted to ask her questions, but she's my friend, so I don't ever want to make her feel like we're not friends. Like I'm more interested in her father
Hmm.
because I do consider her a friend. But, I was sort of curious, just kind of if he had ever heard me play or whatever, like if she had ever showed him a video. And I never asked and would never put somebody on the spot. But one day I was actually seeing my friends play in Boston with Casey Musgraves, and I get a message during the concert, like, "Hey, girl, I was playing my dad a bunch of your videos." And my first thought was like, "Oh my God, Sly knows I exist." But then my second thought, without reading, it was like a message preview. My second thought is, what if Sly doesn't think I'm funky? Like, oh no, like I was, that was my second thought of being scared of just like, oh my God, if he doesn't think I'm funky, like I can't live, I can't live with that. And I went into the message and I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. And and she's like, of course, like he really loved, I don't remember which one, but like that one really got him. He was just smiling real big and bopping his head, and he really enjoyed it. And I was like, wow. And I just, had asked, did he say anything? And I didn't know the state of his health, because he was a recluse. Um, and this was about a year ago, maybe a little more. And she said, his responses are internal rather than external these days. So that let me know sort of where he was health wise, and that
Right.
also just like wow, that brought that he like lit up and smiled and was moving his head. And
Wow.
I don't think I've ever told that story, but that is like, oh man, like okay, he thinks I'm funky, cool.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, like I can die tomorrow, get hit by a bus, knowing that Bootsy Collins, George Clinton,
Yeah.
D'Angelo, Prince, and
Yeah.
Sly Stone, all thought I was funky.
You're
I'm
funky.
cool.
Yeah.
I'm cool. I'm
Yeah.
cool. If nothing else in my life happens.
Yeah. You know, I've heard you tell the story about your encounter with Prince,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I still don't understand what he meant by you're too funky.
That thing got so twisted. He just meant like the same way you talk to a girl and be like, "Damn, girl, you just too pretty."
Okay.
Like
Okay. So it was really a compliment.
it was a compliment,
Yeah.
yeah, but that magazine took it and twisted it like it was a literal like you're too funky to be playing with me. And it's
Yeah.
kind
Like
of
it was a diss, right?
uh I don't know about a diss, but it sort of made it sound to me, at least it made it sound like I was above him or something. And I'll tell you a funny side story from that. Um well, first of all, like I'm friends with everyone. Like I talk to Wendy Melvoin. Like
Hmm.
Lisa and I follow each other.
They're
Michael
funky.
Bland, and like I'm friends with everybody that's worked with him and played in his band. So when that salacious headline came out,
Yeah.
it hit me because I was like, oh my God, I never said that. And great, now everyone that was close to him is going to think I'm some pretentious, C word or something. And what was funny and really cool was I remember I was in Brazil, I was in Rio de Janeiro, had a day off, and the online article came out. And this, I was pretty naive. I didn't realize how bad things can get twisted with words. And I remember I was talking to John Mayer. We were DMing each other, and I was just like, man, I don't know what to do. I feel like you've definitely dealt with this before. And
Yes.
in different multitudes and facets. And he's like, hey, here's my number. Call me. And we talked on the phone for like an hour, and he talked. It was really a beautiful thing that he did for me. I mean, he talked me off of the ledge. He also kind of named things. He's like, I know you're on tour. I know you probably feel isolated, like you're away from home, you're in a hotel room. This is carrying more weight than it actually has. And inevitably I reached out to the person that wrote the article, and I was like, hey, this is not what I said. And he apologized profusely, and he was like, I know that's not what you said. The editor took it and made a salacious title. And I'm like, well, because this is online, can you please change this, because this is not what I said and this comes across in a very different way. And unfortunately that sort of that little expression has followed me a little bit. He did say like, yeah, you too funky, but as a compliment, like
Right.
you're funky, take away the
Right.
too. It's like,
Right. And when I read the article, when I read the article, I was like, no, I know what he's saying. He's saying, damn.
yeah, exactly. But the fact that it's just
He
like
was, I mean, because he was one of those people that appreciated
totally
too
appreciated
funky.
it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, there's stories of him even having like a water bottle and just spritzing people that were too funky. It's like, what? it's like Febrezing people. Like I can't stand it. So he could be a lot of things, but he could be
Yeah,
animated and
yeah.
and
Oh, and he was funny.
funny. But there was also a time that he said I was too funky. I mean, in the 3 days that I was working with him. But there was one time where he didn't mean it as a compliment, and he meant it very literally because we were playing some song, and I don't remember what it was. I know it was something that wasn't released yet. And I was playing something in the song, and I remember he said, "No, no, no, that's too funky. I want you to think more, Elton John or something."
Right, right,
Me
right,
being funky was just probably like, I think this is because I don't remember because it was so long ago, but it might have been like there was no guitar part in the song, and so I had to
right.
come up with a part. And I realized that he wanted me to just be more like heavy-handed, left hand kind of power chord,
More
big,
middle of the road.
yeah, kind of
Yeah,
things. And in that
yeah.
case, he didn't mean it as a compliment. He didn't mean it as a diss. Just kind of like, yeah, not funky, more
No,
just
it was
kind of
just a
driving.
direction.
Yeah. So,
He's a band leader. He's going to direct.
yep.
Yeah,
So that's all that
yeah.
was.
I thought I
I
when
don't think anyone's too funky for Prince except, James Brown or something.
yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, for sure. Um, that's super cool. I got so much here.
Yeah, let's
I got
go
so
from there.
much here.
I'm
Okay,
good on
so
time. I don't
okay,
mind.
cool. On your track on a record that your record that came out in August.
Yeah. The one,
Um,
oh, my record, not
yeah,
the one with
your
Charlie.
record,
Yeah, yeah,
your
yeah.
record. We'll get to Charlie.
Sure, yeah.
Charlie, you got to wait. Um,
He's
um,
second billing.
you just hang on a second.
Yeah.
Um, the first track on the record is called "Damn Ella."
Yeah.
Okay, and that's how it's supposed to be said.
I played it for a friend, and he was just like, "Damn, Ella."
Damn
And I was
Ella,
like, "Oh, that's the title." You
that's
know
the
what I mean? I
title,
was like,
right?
"That's the title."
Yeah.
He was
So
like,
that whole record,
"Yeah,
it is, it's so funny. It's like if you really immerse yourself in it, and you really and you especially if you play it loud, you start to forget. Oh wow, am I listening to a DJ?
yeah, sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Is
do.
this is someone spinning a record, someone scratching, someone is DJing here.
Sure.
That's what that record gives to me.
Yeah, it's interesting listening back to it now. It's almost like hip hop beat tape format, just in the sense that,
Yeah,
they're shorter, condensed things, and it's
yeah,
almost. And I am very influenced by Jay Dilla, and Dilla used to make these cassettes and CDRs for artists where it would be something like 1999 batch, and it's 42 beats that he made, but every beat is 50 seconds to a minute 42 seconds because he's I mean, that's how long they were made. And then if somebody buys the beat, then he goes back in and does that. And that
right.
kind of format, I do like that format of like, it feels mixtapey and beat tape like the aesthetic. I do like
Hmm.
the shorter things where it leaves you wanting more. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Hmm.
And that thing came about in a very accidental way. And I mean, it tethers back to the record with Charlie, but I'll just say that I had ankle surgery and I was laid up in bed. And I literally made that whole thing in a hospital gown in like a couple of weeks. I was just living in a hospital gown. And I was just feeling very nostalgic. And I purchased, I don't know if you can see it, but I purchased the 424.
Oh wow.
And it was the same 4 track that my parents bought me for Hanukkah. And I just had this like wanting to return to innocence, a time in music where I didn't have a career and it was just very fresh and naive. And that led to me, buying back certain gear that I had, the DoD grunge pedal and the buzz box, and so I set it up in the guest bedroom to feel like it's a no pressure, like I'm not in my studio, I'm not here
Right.
to make music to make money, but just to like, I'm going to do what I did in 1993 and
Hmm.
just sit there and plug in and go direct and just have fun. And because I was sort of immobile, living in the gown, and I posted a couple of things online, and they were all very different. And I just kept the way it got mirrored back to me, like, "Oh, please tell me you're going to release this." And the honest answer was no. I'm just like making stuff for fun. But I kept, and that track, Damn Ella, like really, I got like thousands of likes and comments. I was like, all right, I guess I'm putting this out. So that encouraged me to write a little bit more. And it's a record, but it's sort of an EP. I think it's like 18 or 19 minutes of music.
Right.
Um, and it's cool because between Charlie and that record, which is called Four Track Ephemera, and the record that I did in Memphis, they all, not intentionally, but they all have an evolution into each other in terms of like
Hmm.
you can see a progress happening. But
Hmm.
I love that record, and I don't mean that like, oh, it's so good, but I just love the innocence behind making that record. It's
Hmm.
the thing that excites me the most. It's
It's so good. It took me back too, because like, 1986, 87, 88. Yeah, I grew up in New York.
oh,
So,
okay,
you know, you'd walk through the streets and there'd be, people selling tapes
yeah,
on the street.
yeah,
And you'd get these beat tapes, these loop tapes, and they didn't call them loops then.
yeah,
Um, and you'd go home and you'd be like, bam, like your
yeah,
brain is exploding. Like, this is incredible. Why isn't this person hugely famous? And then some of them ended up doing that. Some of them ended up,
sure,
hooking up some way or another. But that's where it took me. It took me to those early days of before it was even called hip hop.
hmm,
You know,
yeah,
um,
totally.
it's kind of interesting. What was the first hip hop tune you ever heard? Can you recall?
I mean, honestly, it was something way later, like probably just like Tribe Called Quest, Low End Theory,
Great
or
record.
I mean, something that I can remember and remember buying. Like, yeah, more like
Right.
that. Midnight Marauders, DOS
Yeah.
Effects, Black Sheep, Busta, more that kind of like intelligent hip hop stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
That was fusing
yeah,
jazz.
like I'm sure that if I heard Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five as a kid, like I wouldn't remember that it was them, and because I was born in '81.
Oh my God, you're making me so old.
So I'll be 45 in
Oh,
next month.
please.
But so I feel like it was more that kind of like hip hop that was out around the time of the grunge era. And then I would dig back, for like later in life,
Hmm.
before Tribe and what was Tribe
Yeah.
listening to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. For me, it was Grandmaster Flash.
totally.
When I heard the message, I was like, oh, that's it.
Yeah,
That was like a starter's gun, you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
Okay, everything changes from this moment on,
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
Um, and the thing that I loved about what was happening was there were the record companies um, hadn't boxed us all out as
mhm,
far as like, well, over here are the metal guys and the hard rock guys, and here are the blues dudes, here are the jazz cats, and here's the
yeah,
hip hop.
sure,
You know what I mean?
sure.
It was all just like I said, that gumbo. It was
Hmm.
all everybody and everything,
Yeah,
everybody and everything, and I loved that. That was such a wonderful time, and I feel like in many respects that's not happening now
I can agree
because
with, yeah, sure.
of the level of control that they want to impart, but they literally have zero control. But I think a lot of younger musicians are just falling into, okay, I need to do this, I need to get here, so I'm going to listen to what these people are saying. It drives me a little nuts.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, it's a whole nother road of just, yeah, the guitar influencer and mediocrity and
Oh my goodness.
leveling up and
Yeah.
secret sauce and the
Yeah.
secrets the pros won't tell you about, and just a lot
Yeah.
of salesman snake oily kind of
Yeah. I,
stuff.
I know a teacher at what used to be GIT, they call it MIT in Hollywood.
Mm,
And he was telling me, there was a bunch of new grads, and he was doing exit meetings with the grads. And he said, "Okay, so you finish this program. What are you gonna, what are you gonna do with it now?" And he was saying about 40% of them said they wanted to be influencers.
Yeah.
They wanted to, set up their YouTube page, review gear, get paid, and okay, what about making music? Can't, don't want to, not interested.
I mean, I respect the sense of like knowing what they want to do, but where I think that that's dangerous is they're not out working as a musician, being on the road, just knowing all of the lived experience things. So it's kind of like, yeah, you're getting financial advice from somebody who's not in finance and not successful and not making mistakes and losing money and making good decisions and bad decisions and figuring out what works.
Yeah,
That's kind of my biggest problem with a lot of the influencer stuff I see. It's usually, the young generation that has like a Dunning-Kruger, like they think they know everything and they don't know as much as they think they do.
yeah,
Or just, a musician that's hasn't played on big records, hasn't been on tour. And not that you need those things to demo a tube screamer, but I don't know. I just want to take advice from people that live things and that are doing things,
yeah,
as
yeah,
opposed to affiliate links, and
yeah.
it's
Affiliate
just
links.
just my personal taste.
Yeah.
But
Um, so that leads me to you and the artists you've worked with is
yeah,
just mind-boggling. And
thanks.
we're all everybody here in my family, my wife, my son, my daughter, we're actually all getting ready to purchase tomorrow morning because
Mm.
we have our code to get in and purchase our Bruno Mars tickets.
Oh,
We're
cool.
going as a family.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we're super excited about that. And then, and I told my son before this interview, I said, I'm going to interview, and he loves the Silk Sonic record.
Oh,
That's his,
cool. Very cool.
I'm going to talk to the person who did the guitars on Silk Sonic. And he's
Mm.
like, Are you serious? I go, Yes. He's
Oh,
like,
very
That
cool.
is super cool. So I know the story on how that kind of evolved for you.
Mhm.
Um, you didn't really know that you didn't know it was called Silk
That's
Sonic. You,
right.
you weren't even entirely sure that it was going to be a Bruno Mars record. It could have been something that he was producing for somebody else, right?
None of it would have surprised me. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
So, and he came with very little notes.
No, I mean I think the good part was that we just had more conversations about records, things he was excited about, things I was telling him to check out, discussion about gear. I mean, I told him what guitars to have, what strings to put on, how to set it up, what picks to use, what pedals, he all of this stuff now as a fuzz tone. It's because of me. I told him which one to get and all that.
That's great.
So it just laid the groundwork for just having at least having an understanding of what he's going for. I mean, the music itself certainly tells you what it wants to be. But yeah, just kind of having those conversations outside of what he's looking for and just kind of like, okay, yeah, this is where his head's at. Oh, okay, cool.
Hmm.
Um, and so it was just a lot easier to kind of know what he was going after. And no, he wasn't super specific. I mean, he definitely had he'd be like, "Oh, give me that cocaine dust. Give me some of that." And I know what he meant, like just sort of psychedelics and sprinkly kind of things and
Right.
ear candy and stuff. And I also just had a sense just sort of like when he might want me to just replay one of his parts, you know,
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
my feel or my sound, and when it was okay to go above and beyond. Like we did a cover of which I literally forgot about until this very moment, but we did a cover Silk Sonic of Kin Function's Love Train.
Oh, wow.
And you know, I took liberties on that. I created a different introduction with some of the guitar parts, and you know, and I just knew like, okay, I know to give him the parts in the record. I know that it's Silk Sonic, so I'm not going to go early 80s with certain things, but I know I need to bridge it, and then I want to do something that's me, and you know, I sort of knew how to do enough to where I was putting my personality in it, but not too much where I was, you know, taking away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, um, at what point did you finally find out that this was going to be what it was?
Literally the morning that Leave the Door Open came out, because it was
Seriously?
yeah, it was
So the record was mixed and mastered, and you still didn't know?
no, I had no idea. Um
That's crazy.
uh Leave the Door Open got released as a single, and then it was out for a while before the
Right,
album came out. I don't remember how long, I'd have to look online.
right,
And I remember it getting released and being like, oh, that's what I played on. Because the other thing that a lot of people don't know is I also did a string arrangement on it because I'm an orchestrator as well.
right.
And when they sent me the song, I'd have to check my hard drive, but I think I literally got like a MIDI piano, and I don't even remember if there was a vocal. Like I got such a skeleton of a song. I did not get Leave the Door Open as the World Knows It. I know, I'm positive there were no drums on it. Because I was even trying to think, you know, would it be like, you know, or would it just be a full beat? Like, and I remember doing the string arrangement, and Bruno was like, it's cool, but it doesn't really follow the vocal or something. I'm like, yeah, you didn't give me a vocal. I don't, you know, I need all this information. You know, I was trying to explain, I'm like, string arranging is like fine line drawing. Like, I need to know the ebbs and flows and where to come in and come out. And, you know, I mean, I was doing the arrangement as just a mock up in MIDI just to, you know, so when I heard the song, I was not only surprised what the group was, but even what the whole song sounded like, because I didn't have the whole, you know, I'd get in trouble if I played it for you, but it was not, it was very, very demo, you know, and I didn't. And so, anyways, that was how that happened. I had heard like throughout the project, like, oh, Anderson Paak's playing drums and stuff, but nobody was like, oh, it's a duo collaboration album. It's called Silk Sonic. The premise is blah, blah, blah. I only had whatever I heard musically, which I was like, oh, okay, I think they're going for like a Philly soul, just kind of, you know, okay, this era, Intruders, you know, Dramatics, Blue Magic, blah, blah, blah. And then that was it, you know. I never got any songs that had, you know, both vocals, and yeah, so it was, yeah.
That's crazy to
And
me.
the engineer, who's a really, really good friend of mine, um, was just like, yeah, like you're lucky. Like he doesn't send his music out to anybody. He's like, you're one of, I think, two people. Like he does
Right,
not send his music out to anybody to play on, you know, because I cut the stuff remotely.
right.
Um, so I think that's also part of the reason of not giving me the full picture in case things could get leaked, and giving me stuff without vocals. And yeah, you know,
That's so cool.
yeah.
And it's interesting because all the sessions I've ever been on, there was a lot. I mean, yeah, there more times than not there were no vocals,
Mhm.
but at least there was some meat on the bones.
Yeah, sure.
You know,
That was
that's
the only one that was hard because it was so bare. The other one, I think I played on about five, I think six songs on the album. Um, the other ones were more like I could, you know, I had way more of a sense, and that's when they were sending me some stems and stuff like that.
right.
But that was the first one, you know, that I had played.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that was the very first track he sent you.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
And they had even, um, some of the songs I think I was credited as like guitar effects or something. Some of the stuff I had made a batch of uh like guitar samples and sounds and stuff like that.
Mm.
And they made its way to him and he loved it, and so he was like sprinkling my guitar samples throughout songs too.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, before I
That's,
even was on the album.
yeah. So yeah, so he had your feel and sound in mind for this.
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I get from that.
Yeah.
So with all the other folks that you've worked with, like Erica Badu and
Mhm.
Jay-Z and Janet,
Yeah.
um, when you get hired for a gig like that, is it are they are they hiring saying, okay, what I want here is you,
Mhm.
or are they saying, I want you, but I also want you to do this. I need you to sound like this person or that or this or
I think it's situational. I mean, I can only speak to the people you mentioned right now. I mean, with Erica Badu, no, she just likes my feel. She's like, "Girl, give me that hump," like she wants my feel and she's totally okay with me doing whatever the fuck I want.
she trusts you.
Because she
Yeah,
knows I'm, oh, sorry, can I swear on this?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because she knows that I'm going to give her something that feels good and it's going to be tasteful and it's going to stay out of her way. So,
right,
and I have sort of reinvented my style based on the tours that we're doing and sort of, oh, she's more on this vibe. Let me take these pedals and take that guitar. And, that changes. With Jay-Z, I mean, that's through my friend Questlove, and that's just more of like we love you, come hang. Like it's just like I'm being called because of who I am, but also like him knowing I'm a good hang and it's gonna be fun. And at that point it's like, play the parts and insert a little bit of your personality. I think some of the other random stuff I've done, like Joe Jonas and Keisha Cole and Angie Stone and Janet Jackson, is more just like I'm just a body that's in there that can play the parts really well, be respectful of the music, get the tone. Like it's more the skill set. I mean, I guess everything is me, but it's more just like, all right, she can do the job.
right.
Erica and other things, it feels like, no, 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 it has to be Ella, you know, or at least that's what I'd like to think.
Well, no, yeah, I mean, and that makes sense. It makes sense, and
Yeah.
I love that. Um, so, did you have moments of like, what the hell am I doing here, working with George Clinton or Bootsy?
Sure. Sure. Yeah. I mean, I still have imposter syndrome. Uh, so I'll be perfectly transparent about that. But it's a lot healthier now. When I was younger, it was a more of a sadistic kind of like, I don't deserve to be here. I'm no one, you
Flogging yourself?
yeah, just opus daying myself and whatever. It was, yeah, not from a very kind place where I never felt like I was deserving of anything. Now it's still there, but it's a little bit healthier. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like
yeah.
it's a little bit hard to take in sometimes. I don't know. I feel like, oh, maybe if I take this compliment in, I'm going to get lazy and complacent and not work as hard. Or, if I don't take it in, I can just ignore it and keep doing what I'm doing. And I don't know.
That means you care.
I care. And some of them, they're hard to hear, but in a good way. I mean,
Yeah.
Bootsy's wife was telling me, and Bootsy will tell me himself, but she's like, Ella, when you play, like Bootsy just closes his eyes and it just makes him think of his brother. Like the way you play reminds him so much of his brother,
Wow.
and it just touches him. And I'm just like, wow, it's such an like to be like he thinks I sound like his brother Catfish is wild. And it's yeah, some of these things they're hard to take in because they're so personal, and I get to be friends with some of my musical heroes, and it kind of fucks me up. But I mean, at the end of the day, I don't treat them any different. It's like these are human fucking beings. But it
Hmm.
is. It, don't think I'm not also kind of like, do I deserve? I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
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 Oh, you earned your place though.
Yeah, and I think I offer something different than a lot of guitar players. I don't think that I'm a intimidating figure or a competitive figure, and I think that
Hmm.
that disarms people.
Yeah.
At least with well-known people, like I don't treat them any differently, and I think that that's comforting too, that they're probably used to people that talk to them a certain way or want something from them or whatever. And I think that's another thing they just know that like I'm just cool. I'm not gonna
Hmm.
disrespect your privacy or
Hmm.
ask you for anything or capital, that it's just we're just friends.
Yeah.
You're just my, you know, like even with John Mayer, it's like I know who he is and I respect him and I know he's a master craftsman as a songwriter, but he's also just like my buddy John who plays guitar.
Hmm.
Like I just look at
Hmm.
him like, and that's not minimizing, all the things that he's done, but it's like
Right.
I have a connection with him because we're, a few years difference in age. I know we were buying the same fucking Guitar World magazines and reading the same thing and being, influenced by a lot of things. So it feels more like it's a contemporary and like, hey,
Yeah.
I see you. Like we've done a lot of the same. We both were like in Daddy's Junkie Music in that era and going here for a slice of pizza. And it just feels
Hmm.
very, and then there's other people where our lives are totally different, like Johnny Marr, who's, I'm really close with him, and it's like we're very different and have very different record collections,
Hmm.
but he's also like my guitar brother, or like an uncle, because we both love the same thing and we're both passionate about, similar topics, and it's just cool to get to share this with someone who happens to have changed music,
Yeah, really. Yeah. Certainly from a tone standpoint.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
um, yeah, it's funny that you mentioned those two people. Um, Also really deep thinkers.
Yeah, I mean, John's very, yeah,
Very.
very deep thinker.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very profound.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish people got to see the side of him that I know,
Yeah.
And I
He,
don't think that's because he's not authentic in public. I just think,
I think people misunderstand his sarcasm.
yeah, yeah, he's a very deep, I mean, him and I have had, yeah, without, being too specific and not respecting privacy. Like we've just had, very serious conversations and he's checked in with me on things and he's just a very thoughtful, mindful person. And he's also very aware of how some of the world sees him and certain things. He's a very self-aware
Yeah,
person.
I mean in the guitar community, he's a polarizing figure,
Yeah.
much in the way that Joe Bonamassa is a polarizing, but I think more so, way more polarizing. But
Yeah, it's kind of, well, I have thoughts on some of that, but I'll say that sometimes the person themselves is very different than the following. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
for example,
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
and this will be like your clickbait title soundbite to use, but like Stevie Ray Vaughan as a person is very different than the people that listen to his music. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Um, and what Stevie Ray Vaughan valued and stood for is very different than what a lot of people who listen to his music. And I think, maybe with John or any of those polarizing guitar figures, and I unfortunately have to bear the brunt of some of the toxic patriarchal machismo Vinny testosterone guitar culture stuff that
Benny
typically
testosterone.
that they typically do listen to,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
Bonamassa
Yeah.
and Stevie Ray Vaughan, and I have to, get the comments like, "Oh, that tone sucks" or whatever. It's like, "Oh, sorry, it's not a Dumble Clon Centaur Gold Top." Like, sorry, you have such a limited fucking scope of what guitar tone is.
Right.
You know,
Right. They've never been to a buffet.
I mean, it's just they've never lived their music. There's just so much white mediocrity. It makes
Hmm.
me nauseous.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you don't want to get me started on that, but it's
No,
like
no, no. I hear
I
you.
have to live that because of my visibility. I have to
Yeah.
bear it's like that's
Yeah.
fine. Listen to that music and enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just don't
You
come into my comment section
right.
and
Exactly. Yeah. You do you, boo.
yeah,
Go.
yeah,
Do your
yeah.
thing.
So
But yeah, no, I totally hear you. It's sort of like Joe Gore and I were saying yesterday. It's like, people say I always get really like cringy and feel like someone's uh, throwing a bucket of hot water on me when they say to me that Elvis was the king of rock and roll.
sure.
It's like maybe to somebody,
Mm,
but if we were to talk technicalities,
yeah,
I'm sorry, I got to say it's Little Richard.
sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Everybody else, go fuck yourselves.
yeah,
This is the guy. He was the full package, and he
yeah,
didn't play guitar.
yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of I don't know if it's called cognitive dissonance, but there's a lot of like disconnection, disassociation from people. Just like even with like, and I'm sure this will piss off a lot of your listeners, but whatever. Um, just like even a lot of the white MAGA conservative Christian bros, and
Yeah,
it's like they like Stevie Ray Vaughan and blues, and it's like, hello, this is Black
they have
American
no
music
idea.
based on oppression. Like the
They
music
have
that's resonating is because of how people like you treated those people and how
Yep.
people like you voted away their human rights
Right.
to live and
Right.
voted in favor of segregation, and now you're enjoying the fruits of their oppression and lived experience, and you don't
Hmm.
make the connection,
Yep.
that they're singing about people like you, that they,
Yep. And that's just bad generational parenting, is what that is.
yeah.
You know, what I
So
mean? It's like that. You remember the Spike Lee joint, "Do the Right Thing"?
sure.
Remember that scene with John Turturro and Spike, and they're standing in the hallway at the pizzeria,
Yeah,
and up on the wall is photo of Muhammad Ali,
yeah,
and I think Prince is up there, and they're talking about John Turturro saying how much he loves these guys,
yeah,
but yet he's still a born and bred racist.
yeah,
You know, it's just amazing that there's that, like you said, that disconnect.
yeah,
You know, but yeah, I like that cognitive dissonance. That's kind of what it is, or
yeah,
distortion.
yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, for sure. Um, so when it comes to the gig, whether it be you going out on tour, let's do that. Let's do when it's going out on the tour, adapting to the gig.
Hmm.
So you're preparing, you got hired to do this gig, you're going to go out, you're going to do whatever, it's going to be 6, 8 weeks, whatever it's going to be, or a year.
Oof.
Um,
Sorry, I don't like touring, but go ahead. Yeah.
you wouldn't want to be out for a year, huh?
Fuck no. I've already
I've
turned
been
down
there. I understand.
I've already turned down two big lucrative tours this year just to literally stay home and hang out with my cat and write music.
Yeah, I
So
can dig it.
no, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I can't like I don't play live anymore at
Yeah,
all. I'm not interested in humping gear. I'm
yeah.
not interested. I'm not interested. I love being in this room and making music.
Amen, brother.
It's the best. Um, but okay, so early on, you know what the gig is for. You know what's going to be expected of you. You've decided on the gear.
Hmm.
Now you're in rehearsals.
Hmm.
How is that process for you? What's that process look like of one, maybe playing with musicians you haven't played with before, or playing with, some that you have and some that you haven't,
Hmm.
and finding that trying to become amalgamized
A lot of
in
listening, and not just the musical listening of what the chords are, but a lot of listening and like reading the room and what are the different kind of personalities in the room. Like being a musician, you need to have more than a set of musical ears. You need to have a set of ears to understand what's needed of you, because you're being hired maybe because of who you are, but essentially you're being hired to help. And if you don't like helping people, you're definitely in the wrong position.
Yeah.
So I just do a lot of listening of just kind of like, what is the artist looking for? What is the MD looking for as we're rehearsing this music? Are they kind of looking to me more like, oh yeah, just don't worry about the chord stuff. Like, can you do more? Like, are they looking for me to be more filler, almost like a monophonic kind of instrument? I don't know why I just did violin, but because it's not monophonic. But anyways, I'm cutting myself. No, but just what are they looking for, because they might be looking for something different than the artist is looking for, different than what's on the recording. I've had MDs before where they want me to be a little busier than I'm comfortable being. Sometimes they say nothing, which is great because you're just doing almost all the time it's that. They just
Right.
in the 10 years I had, toured and recorded with Erica, she spoke to me twice. Once was I played something and she's like, "Now, girl, just play it a little straighter, like don't swing it." I was like, "Cool, you got it." And the other time was just it was one tour. I think we were on tour with NERD and the Roots, and she just wanted me to come out front a little bit more, and that was it. In 10 years, there was no, I need more of this, and it just you do you. So it's just kind of a lot of just kind of like adapting and listening and looking around and seeing what's needed. I mean, the music itself certainly tells you. I mean, in the case of Erica, it's cool. It's challenging because there's no guitar on a lot of the music. So
Yeah.
what is my role? And it changes. Sometimes my role, oh, I'm going to double the bass a little bit here. I'm going to be in unison with the keys here. Now I'm going to go off and create a completely different guitar part that's not in the record. And you're just kind of being like a utility tool, or like a gaffer on a set. And your part, it's almost like shining a light somewhere. Like, where's the light here? Oh, let me double the bass
Hmm.
line here. So I mean, it depends on the song. It depends on the musical director, the artist, the music itself. There's tours and things I've done where it's like, all right, I need to be a little more generic and kind of just program sounds I don't really want to use, but it's the gig.
Yeah.
I've had that for a lot of like one-off things where I'm like, I'm playing Ellen with Joe Jonas, or I'm playing, Leno with Neo or something, and it's not, the tone I want is not what the gig needs. The gig wants more of an expensive, compressed, safe kind of tone, So as I get older, I'm kind of like, I don't want to do anything where I'm not 100% me, even though I'm there to help, but I want to be there because of my sound and my feel, and so I'm a lot pickier than I was when I was younger, where I was just
Hmm.
sort of saying yes, to everything, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think in those early days, and we'll call them salad days, you definitely want to say, you don't want to say no to anything.
Really, yeah. I mean, I started my professional touring career at 22 or 23, having already been in a wedding band and played in church and been in local
Right.
bands. But when that opportunity came up, I mean, yeah, I said yes to everything and no to
Yeah.
almost nothing.
Right.
And now I say no to most things and yes to very few things. And it's more just because I'm more financially stable and I just want to do things that I feel like I'm a really good fit,
Right.
where I really feel like, man, I made a difference in this, as
Yeah.
opposed to just like I'm anybody that could have filled this
Yeah. And ultimately, isn't that what being a human is?
Yeah,
Making a
yeah,
difference.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And
So when I first heard that you were going to be playing with Charlie Hunter,
mm,
I was kind of like, hmm, this is going to be interesting.
yeah,
And then I heard the record, and it was.
yeah,
Um, it's one, it's kind of different for him in a
sure,
way,
sure, yeah,
you know. It was kind of like he was, in some respects, I don't know if you would agree with this, but in some respects, I look at it and I go, okay, Charlie's going into her world.
hmm, Interesting.
and he's going to have to play in those confines. And in a way, he kind of did.
Interesting. I haven't heard that, but I'm sitting with that. Um, hmm. I'd have to really think about that.
Well,
I mean, I think in general, he's going to adapt to anything for
yeah.
sure. Um, it doesn't feel like that to me only in this, and this is just my experience, only in that more than anything, him and I are just such great friends. I mean, we talk
Mhm.
like almost every day. And when we went in to make the record, it really just felt like a continuation of a phone call. Like we
Mm.
just are such good friends. And we also went in a very just sort of conversational, like, oh, I've got a couple of ideas, you got a couple of ideas. It wasn't like anyone was leading the show more than another person. Um, and if anything, your comment, like, what's funny is while I might have done more writing, so to speak, of the songs, I mean, Charlie's literally holding down the bass and some with the hybrid, and he's playing drums. So if anything, notes performed, he has more notes. you know.
Yeah, but I think I don't know. It was to me this was, and no, this is not a
No, I
slight.
don't take it in a negative way. I'm just kind of like, oh,
It
interesting. I haven't thought about that.
yeah, it's not a slight on Charlie in any
Yeah,
way,
yeah,
shape, or form because he's brilliant.
yeah,
And I mean, I think his picture should probably appear in the dictionary under brilliant.
yeah.
Um, it's it sounds more like, yeah, I mean, it's a duet, it's a duo record, it's a duet record. But
Sure.
this sounds like it to me. It's like, you go to iTunes, you put in Ella Feingold,
Yeah.
and the record shows up, and like, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's funny. Huh. I
To me,
know.
it's an Ella Feingold record with Charlie
Wow,
Hunter
that's really
guesting.
interesting. Because, like yesterday or a couple of days ago, Josh Scott from JHS reviewed the album and he's like, yeah, it's Charlie Hunter and it's funky because it's Charlie. And, like, he didn't really mention me. He doesn't know who the hell I am. I don't think he knows, he mispronounced my name. He's like, oh, it doesn't really sound like anything, but it sort of sounds like Schofield. And I'm like, Schofield?
Goldfield.
So I don't even know if he knows what my involvement is in the
I
record.
mean, I know he just had a bike accident, so
Yeah, maybe, you know, let's chalk it up to he doesn't listen to a lot of, funk perhaps.
he doesn't seem as someone who would listen to a lot of funk.
Yeah.
I've
What
met
I
I've met him a couple times. Very nice guy,
Yeah,
but
funk.
funk, no.
Or his idea of funk is, and I'm not going to name the bands. Um, anyways,
Wild
uh,
Cherry.
I'm just gonna just let you fill in the gaps. Um, but one of them is Steely Dan. Anyway,
Oh
shots
my God, it's
fired.
the second day in a row that somebody is dissing Steely Dan.
Shots fired. And I ain't dissing Chuck Rainey or Bernard Purdy or anybody that played on the album. Um, shout out to
You and Joe Gore got to get together.
shout out to those legends. Has
You don't
nothing to
like
do
the
with the
Asia
session.
record?
I'm just leaving that alone. But back to your question, what I will say is that Charlie and I are obviously based in rhythm, and we both
Totally.
value each other for rhythm and our differences in rhythm. I can say that with feel that yes, he's definitely more, he's like Oakland. He's Bay Area,
Yeah.
Berkeley, like he's definitely more um he feels it in a different way than I do, where mine is a little more stretchy, coming more from Dilla. And oddly enough, the album that he played on, D'Angelo's Voodoo, you know what I mean? But he'll even tell you, he's like, I don't play that way. They took me and they moved me in Pro Tools, or D'Angelo kind of arm wrestled me into doing this more. He doesn't play that way. But when him and
Right.
I get together, uh, our feels just kind of lock in like that in a different way. And it's funny because the record does have a hump and a feel, but it's quite literally Charlie playing drums, you know. I think maybe with my feel, that it, yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you hear it that way. I don't know. I haven't heard the record in probably a year. I don't ever listen to it, you know. Um,
So you need to go back and listen.
yeah, so it's interesting. I mean, Charlie definitely just because of where his instrument lays, just in
Hmm.
terms of like I think of Charlie more. I'm obviously not talking about his 8 string era, but like now when he plays 6 string, I mean, it feels more like it's like a kick drum and a couple of kungas or bongos, just
Hmm.
the rhythms that he plays and just quite literally the register where his instrument is. And mine is obviously above that,
Right.
you know. But no, that's interesting. It's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, his playing is ground up.
Yes,
You know
that's
what I
right.
mean? It's ground up.
I'm more middle of the tree and especially in inverted tuning, more
Yeah.
leaves and colors and stuff
Yeah,
like
for
that. I
sure.
totally agree.
For sure. I'm glad you brought it up, inverted tuning.
Yeah,
Explain to my listeners inverted tuning.
sure. So it is EADGBE, like standard tuning, except for it's high to low, not low to high. And essentially, what you're doing, and I probably should have just had the guitar near me, but you are, whether you decide to flip a guitar upside down, it doesn't matter. Your D string and your G string stay the exact same orientation as standard tuning. So you can emotionally latch on that your D string and your G string don't change.
Right.
Now, you have a low E string because I said E, A, D, G, B, E. So the D and the G, they're already accounted for. Your low E, it becomes a high E string. So you're just taking the high E here, plopping it up here. You're taking the
Right.
low E, plopping it down here. So that's 4 strings accounted for. Does
Right.
that to you make sense somewhat?
Completely.
Okay. So now there's only 2 strings left.
Right.
So because it's again E, A, D, G, B, E, I'm taking the B string and I'm moving it here. But I'm not keeping the pitch B because the tuning is E, A, D, G, B, E. So I'm taking
Right.
B, putting it here, and I'm lowering it a tone. I'm taking, this low string, which is a low A, and I'm putting it where the B is. So what ends up happening and all this stuff is on my website and it's on my Instagram and all that. And I even have Labella. I guess I should be a saleswoman here. Labella made a custom Ella Feingold like inverted tuning
Oh,
string
cool.
set. So you can go
All
to
right.
labella.com and order the strings, and it just has more information there. So what it means is that because it's the same sort of pitches as standard tuning, that things that are like non-color chords, meaning like triads and stuff like that, tend to be very forgiving in the tuning. So if you are like playing this major chord, it sounds exactly the same as standard tuning. I mean, quite literally, it's like mirrored. It kind of busts your brain. When you start getting into harmony that has more color, like a Hendrix chord or something, then what happens is the overtone series sort of gets split on its put on its head because um, your sort of like chord tones, like your roots, thirds, fifths, and all that, tend to now be on the high strings, and your more extensions, like your sevens and nines and 11s and 13s, are now on the low part of the guitar. So it just, yeah, it's sort of what happens is if you just play it like you're playing in standard tuning, you'll constantly be surprised because you'll get these voicings and you're like, well, it kind of sounds like the Hendrix chord, but it's a little bit different. Um, and so it's an amazing, fun tuning of new ideas. I was literally just talking to Robin Guthrie from the Cocteau Twins yesterday.
Hmm.
And he was asking about, well, I introduced him to the tuning, but he was like, oh, I'm too old. Like, this is fucking my brain up, you know? And I was like, Robin, I'll make you a video. So I made him a little kind of starter kit instructional video of sort of what the tuning is and how I use it and all that stuff, you know?
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Now, I heard a rumor,
Mhm.
and I don't know if it's true, only you can confirm, that there was a conversation with Fender.
Oh, definitely a rumor. That's cool if you
Oh,
had heard a rumor, because
oh.
I have a relationship. Well, go ahead. A rumor about
No,
what?
the rumor was that there was a Fender guitar being developed. It was going to be a Feingold signature.
Telecaster.
Ah, that's cool. Elecaster. I love that.
If
Um,
that's true, that I'd be the first one, to be surprised by that.
Before that tuning.
I can say that I would love for that to happen. Hi,
Okay.
Fender. Hi.
Hello,
Um,
Justin.
I
Hi,
am a Fender
Justin.
endorsee. I mean, I'm endorsed by Fender.
Right.
Um, I work with Steven in Nashville. Love Fender as a company. I love how they're making all these new signature models, not like that other company in Nashville that just tends to be more of a good old boy, Leonard Skinner, focusing on, older boomer thing and not embracing younger guitar players.
Mhm.
Um, and you can infer that it's any other brand, but, you know, I play Fenders. Behind me, I have Johnny Marr's signature that he gave me, and it's an incredible guitar. I love Fender. I would love to work with Fender. I mean, yeah, it's absolutely a dream of mine to make an Elecaster, have my own model, and also have it be like an affordable, not some expensive.
Right.
Like, what's also funny is that my Telecaster is a $600 Mexican Strat. It's not an
Hmm.
American standard. So I would love to make a guitar that's
Hmm.
affordable.
Hmm.
So that's cool that you heard a rumor because nobody's approached me.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I read it somewhere.
Oh, that's wild.
I remember
I
where I
know
read it.
people always ask and they tag me and they're like, yo, at Fender, like, why haven't you made an Telecaster or something?
Yeah.
And that's super cool. But no,
I
I,
mean,
I, I haven't.
because, when you think about the inverted tuning idea, you know, it allows for another type of, it's sort of like I've just got turned on to the spider capo.
Don't think I know about that. Is that like
Uh,
selecting certain notes that you want to?
yeah, and it's great for open tunings. So I just got turned on to it.
No, I'm not hip, but I will definitely check it out.
Yeah, and you can pull down the levers to hold down and mute,
Yep.
or hold down as
Oh, it'll just mute a string too.
it'll mute a string as well.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
That's super cool.
yeah. So I've been in a headspace of, since I started the music library with my co-host Rob. I've been amassing all these different tools to
Yeah,
apply to, you
sure.
know, the sonic landscape, if you will.
Mhm.
And I mean, right down to like child's
Oh yeah.
percussion toys, and everything, recorders and flutes, and just I feel like I'm in such a giant pool of creation at the moment. So it's super cool. But that's why I love the idea of the inverted tuning, and I'm going to do this.
Oh, cool.
And I will send you some stuff.
Yeah,
I'll,
all you have to do for those that are listening that are interested, all you have to do is just well, there's three ways I guess you could do this. Because your strings are now in different slots in the nut, what I
right,
did was simply just have a luthier make a new nut from
right,
scratch that just and I'm quite literally gonna have my luthier do it on this guitar tomorrow and turn it into inverted tuning. So making a new nut from scratch just compensates the correct gauge and the correct seating of the gauge, especially because you've got the D and the G in the middle, but everything else gets reversed.
Right.
Another thing that I've heard people do when they see me play is that they simply take the nut off and they
And
just reverse
turn
the
it
nut.
around, right?
I'm sure I wouldn't recommend it. I'd rather have something custom made. So that's the second thing you could do. The third thing you could do is quite literally, and sorry because I know you're a lefty, but buying a lefty guitar, taking a lefty guitar away from a proper lefty,
That's fine.
taking away what little we have.
I've taken plenty of right-handed guitars.
Yeah. And so just taking the lefty, flipping it upside down, and doing it that way. The issue with that, though, is now your D string and your G string are sitting in opposite slots.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Right.
one is kind of up a little bit higher than the other. So, and that's what I initially did as a sort of proof of concept. I have a Taiwanese Squire Affinity Strat I got on Amazon for like $200, and did that. And the issue I had was the D and the G were sitting in the wrong places, and it felt a little bit weird. And then I slotted it a little bit. And then when I had the custom nut made, it was just like, oh, this is now it fits perfectly. So
Right.
that's
Right.
really the only modification you have to do. I mean, some people ask just about, pick up now that the slant is in the wrong place, and I don't really think that's a massive thing at all. I just think
It's
it's
not.
it's
It's
just the
not.
nut.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Fender put out a Strat, a Hendrix Strat to do that very thing
Yeah, and
for
that's the good
right-handed.
that's the guitar that I play.
Yeah.
I essentially, for those that are curious, I just take Fender Authentic. They were made in like, I don't know, '07 to '11 or something. And I use that and I put my inverted gauge on. I make a new nut. I replace the pickups. I think I put Fender Custom Shop, like Fat 60s in it or
Mm.
something. And then I did some stuff with the wiring. I think every Stratocaster, in my opinion, should have the neck and the bridge configuration, which sounds like a Telecaster in the neck.
Yeah.
I think every Stratocaster should have that. So that was the first thing I did as a modification with an S1 switch. And then I did some extra stuff, which, if I'm being honest, I don't really use, which is like out of phase stuff. I don't play in position 2 or 4. If I really were to make my own signature, I would just simply like take out position 2 and 4, like make it a three-way switch.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And then maybe, so I'm getting neck and then middle and then bridge, and then maybe just like a push that gives neck and bridge, and call it a day and it's done.
That's cool.
Something, or like a four-way toggle in one of the
Yeah.
positions. I mean, you should
Yeah.
see the wiring in Johnny's guitar. It's wild. I mean, you get like, I think you literally get like 27 or 30 different tones between all of the different configurations and series and parallel and dual capacitors, and.
That's wild. What's your
So
take on the Silver Sky?
I've never played it.
Oh, wow.
I've
Okay.
never played. So funny enough, before I knew John, before we were friendly, I had a conversation with Paul Reed Smith,
Hmm.
through my friend Annie, because Annie was helping him make some guitar pedals and stuff. And uh, we spoke on the phone, and he's like, "Yeah, I love what you're doing with inverted tuning, and I think it's the coolest thing. And I'd love to get you a Silver Sky SE model." And he gave me, like a price for it. And I just, at that time, I was like, I have a Strat, I have a guitar. Like, if it was a free guitar, that would be a different story. But like, I don't want to pay for an SE. Not because it's not a good guitar, it was just kind of like, I have a guitar. There's no need for that.
Right.
Um, and being friendly with John now, I've never asked. He's never offered. He did ask me to write presets for his new software, the
Oh,
new
nice.
DSP. So I made an artist bank, and everyone seems to love the presets I made. I get tagged in them all the time.
Everybody's losing their minds over that thing.
Yeah, so that was
Yeah.
very, very sweet of him to think of me. But no, I've never played the guitar. I'm curious.
Well, I'll tell you, when it first, and I've had many conversations with Paul myself,
Yeah,
and they're always spirited.
yeah.
Um, I love when Paul yells at me.
Yeah.
You feel special when Paul yells at you. But when it first came out, I was just like, seriously? This is the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And I ran into him at a show
Yeah.
and I said, why? He goes, have you played one?
Yeah.
Like he yells. And I said, no, I haven't. He goes, then don't talk to me till you have. I was like, okay, fine. Oh, your cat's coming in. I love it.
Mooney.
I'm a cat person.
Oh, cool.
Um, so I was like, all right. So I went over to one of the booths that had them, and I played them, and I still didn't get it.
Okay.
I still didn't get it. So talking to Eric Krasnos and all these other people who were like, no, seriously, give it another shot, give it another shot. And finally, the SEs came out, and finally they made a lefty.
Mm.
And even though John was dissing the lefties a little bit at one point in some of the conversations, but I got one, and all of a sudden I was transformed. I was like, oh my goodness, I get it now. Now I get it. I didn't get it with the chords, but I got it with the SE.
Mm.
And um, I'm not embarrassed, but my friends tell me I should be. I have 5 of them now.
Oh, wow. Okay. I mean, I can see two, or three.
There's the green one up there, and then there's a red one, but I mod them.
Hmm.
So what I've been doing, this was the first mod I did. I wanted an HSS.
Sure.
So I was like, okay, let me find a
Cool color
PRS
scheme.
pickup that's going to balance with these other two because these put out about 7.25.
Mhm.
So I found this. This is a Stella bridge pickup,
Mhm.
and I put that in. So of course I had to route out and all that other stuff. But holy cow, I am so in love with this instrument. It takes the Strat to what I think if Leo would have lived, it would have been the next logical iteration,
Mm.
if you will. I mean, yes, it's very Strat like, it does Strat things, but it also gives a very modern approach. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I've played other kinds of, Strat, as Rob says to me all the time. Uh, he calls them SLOs, Strat like objects, like Ibanez and Yamaha and
Yeah.
whoever else, they're all in this room.
Yeah.
Um, because the Strat, I mean, Leo got it right the first time, you know.
Yeah.
But this is the next iteration, and it makes a lot of sense, and I've just fallen in love with it. So I
Cool.
was curious to know what you thought.
No, I mean, because of where I live, kind of in the middle of nowhere, and we don't have music stores here. I
Right.
mean, there's a local one, but it's more like, band clarinet rental.
Maybe strings.
Yeah, and strings. So, no, there's no new gear. I've never encountered one. I mean, they're here. I'd have to drive about an hour and change
Ah, that's a hassle.
to go play one.
Yeah.
So no, I haven't encountered one in the wild yet, which
Um,
shows you how isolated I am.
um, so as far as your gear,
Yeah.
desert island time, you know, the guitar that you go to always, the guitar that you pick up more than any other guitar. Which is it for you?
Hmm. Um, well, can I just answer lately? Or do I have to?
Sure. I mean,
Okay.
look, this is one of these white person questions.
Yeah. Lately, the two that I've been playing the most are the Johnny Marr Jaguar
Right.
and that Hagstrom one. I did an album in Memphis and I did the entire album on the Hagstrom. Those are the two that I go towards the most for sure. In sessions, I tend to like the Nile Rodgers Strat always tends to somehow make it onto the record a lot of times.
Hmm.
And I have a Gibson ES345 stereo from the early 80s that tends to get on record a lot. That was on the Silk Sonic record.
Hmm.
So I have ones that like always make it on record, and then I have ones that I love playing and that tend to be on my personal records as opposed
Yeah.
to sessions
Yeah.
for other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like talking about gear, you know.
One of the things I love about your Insta that makes me happy is your textures.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
So you bring all these different textures, and I'm like, ooh, how did she do that? So, is there a favorite pedal?
I can tell you again, like sort of what I'm excited about now is I've been, this is probably, again, going to probably piss off a lot of listeners. I've been plugging into just like old, like prosumer hi fi gear for preamps, like plugging into an old 70s cassette recorder
Hmm.
and going into the line in excuse me, the mic in where it's like the
Hmm.
guitar is overloading the preamp, and
Right.
I guess sort of similar to like cassette Tascam preamp distortion, but the old, cassette players have an even different thing where the low end sort of just shuts down in a way. So that's been making me really excited. I've been playing a pedal within the last couple of weeks a lot, which kind of approximates the thing, even though I have the real recorder. Um, there's a company I like called Midfi Electronics.
Hmm.
Doug Tuttle, he's in Rhode Island, and he just makes a lot of love it or hate it. He's not going for crazy high fidelity, your tube screen, like it's like
Right.
his personality. And one of the things he wanted to make was like something that's like that kind of sounds like a broken hi-fi speaker,
Like a tone bender kind of a thing.
yeah, a little bit tone bender, but it's its own thing. So I've been loving that a lot. And then again, when I'm doing sessions that's not my own music, I tend to sort of, there's a revolving cast of characters for sure. Yeah.
Hmm. Um, so before we got on mic, folks, I just want to, in case I forget to mention it, um, if you have not been to Ella's website yet, it's feingoldmusic.com. I highly recommend you check it out. I think you're going to be astonished
Thank you.
by the level of work you've done. I mean, it's just enormous.
Thanks. I'd say like if anyone's interested, I mean, I'm most active. I have a Patreon where I teach, and then Instagram. Like those are sort of the two space. My website I haven't updated in like God knows how long, like a year. But yeah, I mean, Instagram and Patreon are where I'm most active, for sure.
Um, so before we got on mic, you mentioned that you've been spending some time in Memphis
Oh yeah.
and you're working on a new record,
Yep.
and it's a departure.
Yes. Very much so. Yeah.
Okay, what can you tell us?
So I recorded it in September. I went and I rented Jeff Buckley's old house, or a house that he stayed in, the house he was staying in, where he tragically drowned in Memphis. And it's like an old shotgun shack from the 1920s. And I went there for a few different reasons. I mean, Jeff is one of my favorite artists. I did not go there to make a Jeff Buckley record. I went there to make an Ella Feingold record, but I know that he went there to escape New York and to sort of cocoon and search for something. I'll use his words, which were badass. He was searching for something that he just wasn't able to get at the time in New York or on the road or whatever. And that kind of felt good to me, even though in this space I feel safe in my home and have written a bunch of, cool music. I just wanted to put myself in that home and almost not really be inspired, but almost a little spooked out by just sort of the energy of it. You know, being in an unfamiliar place, being in a space where it's just different or whatever. So I went there with my 4 track, with that Hagstrom guitar, and a bunch of just old Boss and DoD pedals and a 58. And I made an entire record in the house. And I used the house as an instrument. The acoustics in there were great: wood floors, high ceilings. The bathroom had amazing acoustics. And I did a record there, and a lot of stuff came out of me. I definitely felt his spirit there, for sure. Um, you know, I definitely feel like I caught a vibe there for sure. And I'm really proud of it. I mean, it's a departure, like it's music that I live. I mean, it's not like I would never do something that's sort of just like, I don't know, is a pastiche the right word? Like cultural appropriate, just sort of like, oh, I'll try this out for a little while.
Right.
I mean, it's
Right.
music I live, but it's a lot more raw. It's definitely not funk at all, although it is probably funky, just like my right hand. Like I hope that my rhythm comes through in it for sure. Um, and I'm really really proud of it. For some reason, even though I put out an album with Charlie and I put out 4 track ephemera, for some reason this record feels like my first solo record. You know, oddly enough, feels
Interesting.
like the most me, even though it'll be different than how people know me. Um, and it's just special for a lot of reasons. It's getting mastered now, and then I think I'm probably going to put it out fairly soon. You know, it's called "Tell a Beautiful Lie with Sound," and I sort of got to that title because I had heard, I don't know if it was Debussy or Ravel or something, but I thought one of them had said, "Art is a beautiful lie."
Hmm.
And I just thought, oh, that's so cool because, sometimes it is. You're creating a whatever, that or like they say, why let the truth get in the way, of a beautiful story or something.
Story. Yeah, sure.
So um, the music is very much real and authentic. But somebody was asking me one day for advice on like, I think the question was like, how do you stay current with music, or how do you kind of emote in such a politically charged time now, and there's a lot stacked up against you, because I'm a trans woman. And I had just said, I was like, right instinctually, not trying to, be poetic or anything. I just said, um, write the music that you're living, write the music that excites you, or if not, tell a beautiful lie with sound. And I was
Hmm.
like, oh wow, that's going to be the album cover, the album title. So
That's
that's kind of
cool.
how that came about.
So would you, I mean, based on the type of music, would you say it's more for you a roots record?
It just feels like it's a record where I'm introducing a lot of my record collection to each other, where some things were
That's
maybe,
cool.
and that's kind of where I what I meant earlier, just in terms of the evolution, the tethered of like the album with Charlie and 4 track ephemera, and this album is it felt, and again, it wasn't an intention. It wasn't. Sorry, it's my cat. It wasn't an intentional thing. Orange cat, orange boys,
Orange tabbies, man.
orange boys are just.
Orange tab. I've got 3 tuxedos and they're
Oh
out of
okay,
their minds.
yeah, yeah. No, he's usually chill, except for
I
one
see him
walk.
back there. He's adorable.
Yeah, little Garfields. It was like with Charlie was a thing, and that taught me just to just kind of like get out there, Ella, like put some sound out into the world. Now not
Hmm.
everything has to be perfect. If it's authentic and you mean what you said in the moment, it'll reach people. It
Absolutely. Don't
taught
have
me
to be
that.
precious.
Yeah, exactly. That's a perfect word. And when I made Ephemera, again, like I wasn't even planning on putting it out. It was more just like making some stuff for fun.
Mhm.
But that was like, yeah, the bottom octave was more Tribe Called Quest and hip hop and just really danceable, and the bass was too. But then the top octave, yeah, there was some stuff that certainly you could point to Sly or Freddie Stone, but it was like I'm using modulation, and you just hear more post punk and goth and Cocteau Twins, and honestly being friends with Johnny Marr. And it wasn't an intentional thing, but that started to kind of, pollinate and be more of a gumbo. And then when I made this, it was more like that stuff is more of the stew. And there really isn't a lot of bottom octave. I'm playing drums on it a little bit, and I'm bashing a 58 for a kick drum and whatever. I mean, there's definitely rhythm and there's feel, but it's sort of a continuation of that. And I feel like if I were to make another one fairly soon, which I'm not ready to, I feel like it would be even what the previous one was, but even more, like even a little more kind of broken hi-fi equipment, and just,
Mhm.
and maybe the drums come back a little bit more. And now I'm really trying to branch things. So it's cool. It was an unintentional, like, oh, this feels very me and feels very genuine and authentic, how these things kind of just spilled into each other. You know?
Sure.
Yeah.
So it's products of your environments.
Yeah. I mean, I know when the album comes out, the fact that I made it in Jeff's house, I know a lot of people would just be like, oh my God, it's giving Jeff Buckley. It's so Jeff Buckley or whatever. And I have to live with that. I sort of feel like comparison is the thief of joy. I'd rather somebody tell me how the music makes them feel or what it
Hmm.
makes them think of than
Hmm.
comparing it to another artist,
Hmm.
you know.
Well,
Um,
and that's one of my beefs with the listener so often is that they always need someplace to hang their hat.
I think we're making it worse for each other, just like I even see in YouTube. Like, rather now, when there's a video, rather than just seeing comment and right here, it's a prompt. This reminds me of.
Yeah, what the hell is that?
And it's like they're wanting you to say, this reminds me of
Yeah,
artist X. And I just, it
that's
says more about,
indoctrination.
yeah, it says more about the person making the comment than the actual artist. And I understand that it's a way to
Engage.
engage and
Yeah.
try and relate. And I know that they're not meant as these malicious comments. And, maybe I need to get more used to being an artist. But when I get those comments, it makes me feel very unseen, like I'm not the artist on my own record. And sometimes, they're just funny. I'll be like, oh, like with 4 track ephemera, people were like, oh, this is giving Mac DeMarco. This is giving Frank Lacey. I've never heard a fucking note from either of those artists. I'm sure I'd love their music because I know a lot
Probably,
of
yeah.
other people do. But I mean, it's
Right.
just like, okay, if those are your references, I'm not
Right.
mad. But it's like I don't even know what that sounds like.
Right.
You
And
know,
and their but their implication is that you're biting.
I don't know if it's that you're biting. Maybe from some people, I think it's more, or even just using a 424. People like, oh, okay, McGee, and I'm like, don't even listen to his album.
Right.
Literally had that machine before he was swimming in his daddy's nutsack. Like, just go back in history, kids. Like,
Yeah.
turns out a 4 track existed before McGee in
Right.
2023.
Right.
Turns out maybe, Jeff Buckley might have recorded an album on it. Turns out Springsteen might have done an album on a 244. Turns out Lou Barlow and Centrado and Sebadoh and a whole indie rock and Guided by Voices did
Hmm.
records on a 4 track.
Hmm.
John Frusciante's first solo record was
Yeah.
a four. I mean, it's like, come on, kids. Like, let's go back in time.
Yeah.
It didn't start with him,
Yeah. Yeah.
but they don't go back. So it's like that's their only frame of
You know,
reference.
that's interesting that you say that too, because that was always my thing when I would hear music. Like, I'll give you an example, like Led Zeppelin.
Mhm.
Okay. You know, I think it's safe to say Jimmy Page is the world's greatest plagiarist of all time,
Sure.
right? But he did it in a way that was really enjoyable.
Yeah, sure.
Um, because some really cool music came out of it. But when I found out eventually, and there was no internet, but when I found out, oh, this is that, and this is this, and you need to see that, that was it. Now the race was on,
Mm.
you know, and I started digging into all of the record stores
Mm.
and going and finding that stuff. And that was the big change, you know, and it took away a lot of that hero worship for sure.
Sure.
Um, but but it sent me down the, you know, and I was really lucky. We had this radio station when I was a kid called WLIR, and it was, if you can imagine, like a college vibe radio station, like college vibe. Um, the DJs got to play whatever they wanted to play, and but they were a commercial radio station, and so there'd be one cat that would play, Grateful Dead, Judas Priest, Pat Metheny, and maybe the Police in one of his sets. It's like, from an AOR standpoint, that makes absolutely no freaking sense whatsoever.
Mm.
But it was once again that buffet table, right? That like, oh, I can have some of this, and I can have some of that, and I can have some of this. Oh, psychedelic furs, cool.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Oh, Gang of Four,
Mm.
wow, what's this?
Yeah.
Andy Gill, holy shit,
Oh,
right?
funky.
So um, that was it for me. I realized, okay, all these other radio stations at the time, all these other people, and I would be like, check out this record. It's called Entertainment. This place,
Mm. Great record.
and
Yeah.
and they'd be like, what is this? They didn't understand. Like I was the first person amongst my friend group to bring them the first Police record,
Mm.
and say, you got to hear this, and U2's Boy, and all that stuff. I saw U2 in a snowstorm at a tiny little club on Long Island, and there were 25 people there,
Wow.
and it was nuts.
Yeah.
It was nuts, But yeah, it's funny. People don't do that anymore. They're not going on the hunt.
Yeah.
They're not, you know, they're not looking back to see where it could. They're holding it at face value, and that's this. you
Yeah.
know and that was one of the things, is like, one of the most sampled artists by rappers is Sly and the Family Stone and James Brown, right? I mean, funky drummer,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, makes me nuts.
Yeah. Same.
Makes me nuts. So do you think we'll see this new record in first quarter, second quarter?
I mean, it is up to me. What I'd like to do is just put it out, on my birthday, February 11th,
Right.
or Valentine's Day, and just have it be out in the world. I have a manager and I have some people that have been in the business a long time, and they're like, no, 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 Ella, like, let's sit on it, let's shop it, let's do this or whatever. And I'm a little bit more impulsive, because I feel like I can't move forward with my life until the album is out. Like, I need it to come out so that other people can have it be their own album, and have it be their own story if they happen to connect with it.
Mm,
And then that sort of allows me to open up a new chapter and start writing again. So the fact of just like sitting on it for 6 months just sort of makes me, you know, I don't know. But I mean, yeah, if there was label interest and they're like, no, 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 like, we got you and we want to give you an advance and do this the right way and do that, then yeah, I would. But I'm sort of thinking more just like, no, 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 I'm gonna just put it out in February. I'll probably get the masters back like January 16th or 17th, and then
right. Well, I can't wait.
thanks.
I'm looking
I
forward to it.
I really hope that people connect with it, because it's definitely not focusing, if it's weird to say, like, it's not focusing on my strengths, although I do think the album is a strength. But like, I'm not exploiting rhythm and funk, and I know that that's what a lot of people want. It's a very vulnerable, honest, kind of raw, gritty record. And there may be people that it just hits them in the chest and they connect with it. And then there might be other people that just go like, well, it's not funky. I don't really want to listen to it. That's
Well, I
cool.
appreciate that you don't want to be pigeonholed.
Yeah, I mean, look, the truth is that like anytime I play rhythm and I'm so grateful for it, that's what engages people. That's what gets the most comments, the most likes. If I'm playing something else, it's kind of like, yeah, okay, it's cool. And
Hmm.
I know that people are there for me more than anything, but that's sort of what I built up and that's what I focused on and that's what a lot of people know me for, which is great and I'm totally okay with that. But yeah, there is a little bit of just kind of like I want to be seen as an artist and someone who's just a great lover of music because you are the sum of your record collection, and I listen to everything,
Yeah.
other than bro country, I listen to everything. So, yeah. So
Yeah.
I hope people dig it.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks.
Um, I can't thank you enough for doing this today.
Oh, this was fun. My pleasure.
You're a blast.
Thank you.
I love you like crazy.
Thanks.
And it's so funny. I had it even on the list here. The last thing on the list was to talk to you about cats. So it's that
Oh,
we that what's his name?
Mooney.
Mooney that he came
Yeah.
in. Not like Keith Moon. Is it Keith Moon?
No, it's MOUNI. Yeah. No, it's
But
just
yeah,
great.
I'm so super glad that we got to do this.
Me too. This was fun. I have to say, like most people, not all, but like most, it's just these very rudimentary questions, which I understand, have to, a lot of people don't know who the interview subject might be. But a lot of
Mhm.
times it's like, oh, I could be anybody in the chair, and you definitely made me feel like engaged in very specific questions tailored to like who
Cool.
I am and what I do. So I
Well, yeah,
appreciate that.
I'm expecting my audience to already know.
Well, that's cool. But it's like sometimes you go on one of these channels and it's like, so how did you start playing music? And it's like none of these have to do with me personally. You're just like,
Yeah,
just doing,
they're the boilerplate.
yeah. And
Yeah,
then the interview's over and it's like, well, I don't know, ask me why I play music. Like, why did I want to, like,
yeah,
what are you excited about now? What do you,
yeah,
So
yeah,
I appreciate you just
yeah. That is a good question,
taking an
actually.
interest.
Are you listening to anything right now that's specific that's really doing
Um,
it for you?
I've just been listening to a lot of like post-punk stuff this year, magazine, and you mentioned Gang of Four Entertainment, Susie and the
Hmm.
Banshees, a lot of
Hmm.
Cocteau Twins, Smiths, and then there's always James Brown and Sly and
Hmm. Yeah,
D'Angelo,
that always finds its way in for me too.
you know,
Yeah,
Jeff Buckley.
yeah,
So sort of familiar music that I keep coming back to, that I keep hearing different and new things, and
yeah,
some stuff I'm listening to just to study and be like, how the hell did they, what is that, what's that
yeah,
one
yeah,
of those things.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been listening to Jim Campolongo, who I love.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
He's so great, and
Yeah.
Cheap Trick.
Yep. Cool. Cool.
Early Cheap Trick, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that stuff's
Yeah,
fun.
Charlie's close with Jim. I know they're old Bay Area
Yeah, I've
buddies.
heard that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard that. Yeah, for
I
sure.
respect anybody that takes a damn guitar and goes right into a Princeton, which I know
Right?
he does.
A dimed
A
Princeton.
dimed Princeton. Yeah.
What, like, are you crazy?
Yeah. Yeah.
I've enjoyed my conversations with Jim. They're a blast.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, thank you again.
My pleasure. Thank you for
Stay in
having me.
touch with me. I'll stay in touch with you,
Okay.
and I'll see you on Instagram.
Okay.
All right?
All right. Have a good weekend.
Peace.
Bye.
Have a great day. Bye bye.